Joe Rogan on LGBTQ brainwashing. Now, we'll see how smart this is. This is an Asmongold clip. I'm going to see what his perspective is on it. I think that there is definitely agenda-based manipulation when it comes to groups that have been deemed marginalized, which to an extent they are. But there is a sympathy baiting that has been going on. I think it's just blatant. It's like when people complain about the right wing pipeline. That exists as well as the left wing pipeline. So there is brainwashing that's happening all the time because people are like goaded into this shit, especially with the internet. But let's see what we got here.
LGBT brainwashing? Uh-oh.
Our president is very smart. He's showing us things that enables people like Mike Benz and you and I to have these conversations about, because it's not ideological that USAID, which is not USAID, this is like one of these psyops right
Sometimes
up top, like Federal Express is not owned by the government, Federal Reserve is not owned by the government, USAID is the Agency for International Development, not aid. And we see on television, there goes another pallet onto the C-130. Aid, U.S. aid from the American people.
Oh, we're being nice.
Yeah, we're being nice to people.
We should be nice. We're the nice people of the world.
But
I mean that the United States has had an issue of basically just psyoping everything. We see a government that we sort of don't like. We're like, dude, let's have the CIA make this whole country think we're vampires and bleed people out from trees. That is a real thing that happened.
What these, and I'm sure Mike talked about this, like LGBTQ. These dance parties and things, if you look at these countries, like these are countries where we want to keep them away from Russia, overthrow the incumbents.
Yes.
And the way to garner support is to, and I really love how they added the Q. That just became so clear to me all of a sudden. If you sponsor LGBTQ, these are outcasts. These are people who feel that they've been marginalized.
Sure.
Then you add a Q, like,
well, I mean, to be fair, in a lot of these other countries, they are legitimately marginalized.
Oh, 100%, 100%. You go to third world countries and they just straight up kill people that are gay, which is fucked, which is so gross. I hate that countries do that. It's like, let people fucking be themselves.
Like, it's in the U.S., we forget about this, but in a lot of countries, like, you actually are marginalized if you're gay, right? And not even to mention trans.
I can be queer. I'm different. I'm odd. You bring more people in. You can bring the anarchists in.
You can get A. They have the A's in.
Oh yeah,
now,
the A's, the
so
I's,
crazy.
Everything.
But the A's don't even have a dog in the fight.
But that's the point. You want them to come to the party.
Yes.
Come to the party. You're allowed to the party.
That's
and
why it's so long now.
And I saw this, AFD in Germany. This is the extreme right party, and they wanted, to slow or remove immigration. And so now there was a protest against the AFD. They're getting ready to vote now, and there's 100,000 people there. And I'm like, wow. I thought, because I know people in Germany, I have friends in Germany. They really are sick and tired of this immigration stuff. So where are these people coming from? And in the news report, right up front, there's a dude in a blonde wig with eyeshadow saying, we just want to get along. Can't we just be diverse? I'm like, that's the psyop.
Yes.
He's talking about himself. So he wants to feel included, which, by the way, in America, you can do whatever you want, call yourself whatever you want. People really don't have an issue with that. But
generally,
they've just taken this and...
people do have a problem with it. I mean, there are people that have big issues with it, that are they're always going to be bigoted. There's nothing really that's going to change their mind. But we do have freedom of expression in this country, and I think that's something that's super important.
Use these people into their political agendas all over the world, and of course, it sparked something here in the States. If you look, the Democrat Party, they're going to die on this hill. They're still like, oh no, LGBT.
I think that he's right about this part, that they're completely captured by identity politics. They are. They're completely captured. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get over it without like a total reformation.
And it's so bad because there used to be like people talk about the right going far right or whatever, right? But they don't talk about how far left it's gone and how progressivism and this identity politics has completely ruined all like ideologies on the left that were loved by a lot of people, like free healthcare and social reforms and like our social programs. there's a lot of ideas like unions and stuff. There's a lot of things on the left that a lot of people really liked and cared about, but now those are getting pushed to the sidelines, and it's all about identity politics, and those don't really stand for anything. Those are there's only argument there is sympathy. Sympathy and empathy are the only arguments there, and that's just manipulation tactics at that point. So after a certain point, people are not going to give a shit. People aren't going to fucking care.
They're taking away our rights because they know they can mobilize people to do that, and then you can throw in Palestine and all kinds of people.
Did
will
you see
join
the
this
city
group.
council thing in Worcester, Massachusetts yesterday? That's gone viral today.
Yeah,
Which
this was
one is
not-
Jamie,
that?
did you see it?
I'm seeing it right now on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah. Pull this bitch up.
Uh-oh.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, this shit back again, dude. I didn't mean to react to this 3 fucking times tonight. I saw Asmongold reacted to Joe Rogan, thought it was gonna be funny.
There's a compilation of these people like absolutely freaking out. The best one's the compilation, if you can find the compilation. But it's all these LGBT people show up at this city council meeting to say there's like a trans genocide. It's one of those, dude. We're gonna round up in concentration
yeah.
camps.
Yeah, 5 minutes long. I'll
Yeah, just
play
give
the
me.
beginning.
Start from the beginning. Give me.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Oh, brother.
I'm shaking right now.
We saw this.
I don't want to be here.
Please.
Let's go here.
I
They
pray
need
for
love.
them.
Yeah.
The biggest way to psychologically manipulate people is, or there's 3 ways: old people, puppies, and children. And
Yeah.
and I followed this. It started around 2000.
Yeah, this was all manipulation. This is the thing that why I had such a problem with David Jaffe and this whole thing is this was all manipulation. This was all manipulation tactics. It was kind of disgusting how it was just it's an appeal to sympathy, and it doesn't have any real basis. It's just like we don't like the current administration. We don't like what we don't believe in their values because they refuse to acknowledge what we want them to acknowledge. So therefore, we are going to use sympathy manipulation tactics to win. I mean, this isn't like profound shit, dude. This isn't. I think it's funny whenever Joe Rogan has somebody on, and he's like, "Oh wow, dude, fucking wow, dude. Oh, that's crazy, bro. Whoa," and it's like the dude just saying blatantly normal fucking shit. Like Joe Rogan isn't the smartest man. I'm not saying he's dumb either, but I'm just saying like this guy's not saying anything that's profoundly wild. It's just like obvious. This is obvious manipulation tactics, and that's why I don't like any of these appeals to sympathy because they don't do anything for me because I don't fucking know you.
2012, not coincidental when you know about
Occupy Wall
Smith Month,
Street.
the Smith Month Act. So that's there was a law that was put in since the Church Commission. You can't propagandize the American people.
Yeah.
Defense Department and others went to the government and said, well, like we're on the internet now. We might accidentally, push some propaganda on people.
Yeah.
It started with bullying in schools. I know because John Dvorak and we followed it on No Agenda. Started with bullying. Then it was we needed anti-bullying laws, and we're literally going like, what happened to sticks and stones will break my bones or punch the bully in his nose? No. Then the teachers, and then we got hate speech.
I remember the bullying thing. I remember thinking it was the dumbest fucking thing ever because I when I was in elementary school, I was like bullied because I was a little fucking Spider-Man nerd, which I mean, now it's like cool because Marvel like got good and then Marvel got shit. But I remember just like I was like trying to force what I liked on everybody else instead of trying to understand what other people liked and trying to actually have conversations with people and appeal on a level that wasn't on my perspective. And that's a problem I see right now is everybody wants you to be on the exact same page as what they're on instead of trying to understand where the person sitting across from you is. And it went through me being weird and me kind of like dealing with stupid shit and kind of learning I need to understand other people in order for them to understand me. I don't just show the weirdest, wildest me to the world and then expect them to just be like, oh, cool, I'm just gonna like pretend that's normal. Yeah, because like I was being weird. I was a fucking like weird kid. It was and it's like I look at this whole thing right here and it's like I see like the bullying thing, and I remember going to in middle school going to like the movie theater to watch anti-bullying films and They all this like shit. It's like you can just figure shit out. Most of the time, like even when there was bullying, you didn't go to a teacher. You just fucking figured it out, dude. And it's it was just such a waste of time, and it felt like such a lecture, and it was so annoying.
Speech laws, not actually laws, but hate speech punishments, and this kept building up until you guaranteed parents through the American Medical Association, the Pediatric Society, all of these different trade groups, that if you don't transition your child, that child will commit suicide.
Right.
And that is a horrible thing that they've done. Think about these parents who may or may not one day wake up and go, what have I done? What have I done?
Well, someone was talking about this the other day, that this is the real problem, is that so many parents have committed to doing this to their children, and they cannot face the reality of what they've done, and so they're going to dig their heels in.
Well, they don't know what it is, right? I mean, like, I think that, like, as a parent, like, there are a lot of things that kids can't consent to and parents can't consent their kids into, even if they want to, and that's for everybody's best interest. That's it.
And I have to say, what the fuck just happened? I have to say that one thing that I don't agree with on the whole trans thing, and I think you are fully allowed to be whatever you want, to do whatever you want that makes you feel like you. I am fully in support of that. I don't think kids should be allowed to make these massive life-changing choices when they're not, like, I think it should be 18. It's the same thing like cigarettes and tobacco. When they moved that to 21, it's like, why are we taking all of these rights from, like, the only thing you can do now when you're 18 is basically vote. That's all you got. And I think you can buy a rifle and vote. Like, they're slowly taking more and more rights from, like, 18-year-olds. And I think when you're 18, you can make I think you should be allowed to make any decision you want, because you are considered an adult now. This is like your life, your choice. Make those options. But before then, I think you shouldn't be able to, like, make these massive choices, because you don't have the power yet. You're not even under law considered an adult. So why the fuck would you get all of these? Why would you be able to make these life-changing decisions without your parents?
Mm-hmm.
And
vote Democrat.
Talk about gender-affirming care.
Yes.
But the thing is, that's a small percentage of people in the general population.
Thank God.
Yeah.
And thank God. But they're overrepresented in the fact that they make it their whole life, and so they're very loud and very vocal, and then they become a political beach ball. And I talk about beach balls.
I heard you talk about that with Bridget.
That's what it is. It's
totally.
The political beach balls at a concert. They chuck them up in the air, so we always have something to fight about. So we're not paying attention to, like, the USAID stuff or a lot.
Yeah, it's all a distraction. And I think that there's been a huge. It was like the whole trans women in sports things. It's like, it's an annoying issue, but it's like such a small issue that like now obviously they're trans people aren't trans women aren't allowed in women's sports, but it was something to be a distraction. It was a distraction. It always became a talking point. It was like, oh, we have like real shit that we need to talk about, real policy we should be talking about, but instead we're talking about trans people in women's sports, which I could have given a shit less about. I don't give a fuck who's playing in what sports and when. I don't fucking care. But it was just always an issue, and it was always brought up on both sides. It was this fucking bouncing ball between. I like that analogy. It was a bouncing ball, and I just could not give a shit less about that issue when there is where we are in it. We've been in an economic crisis for a very long time, and there was no future on the horizon of bringing industry back to this country to where we could get out of this economic crisis. But no, let's talk about trans women in sports, dude. Like, I could have cared less about it.
I think that Joe's bringing up a really good point here, is that a lot of these identity politics issues are basically being put forward as a distraction technique from economic policy.
Exactly what I just said. Exactly what I just fucking said. Base take.
I think this is very true. I think it's always been true.
That's like really important. And this is just a part of this intertangled web.
It's called Munchausen syndrome. It's Munchausen by proxy, actually. If you're acting like that, you've convinced your kid that they have a disease. But I know what it is. Like, I get it.
psyops that's been running our culture. I mean, I would say our government, but it's everything, right?
Culture,
So
yes.
it's the government has established its hooks in us and put fear and law and rules. And the more law and the more rules, the better, because the more likely you're going to break a few of them, and then you're going to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And they've got these fucking things everywhere. And
I see a danger in this. I see a mad danger in this, because you start limiting speech because you want to be nice, or you're like, well, if you say this, that's bullying, and then now it's hate speech, and then now anybody who disagrees with me is a Nazi and a hateful bigot, and see, it's slowly created this giant slippery slope to create the chaos that we're in now, where it's like, actually, freedom of speech is a Nazi tactic. What the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. When has freedom of expression ever been that? It's the opposite. The ability to, speak your mind and that we have in this country is so important, and it's a hill that everyone should be wanting to die on, whether you're right or left. I think it is so important, because right now, you might be mad because the right's in, and I don't like that they say this stuff, so I want it banned. But again, if both sides start getting to this way where they're, we need to ban this speech, and then we need to ban this speech, you eventually will get to a point where actual fascism will hit, where it will actually be a policing of thought, to the point that you will be scared to express any ideas because of the fact that you have now policed language down to, and whoever's the worst person who takes over will take it to, now we're opening education camps because these people are just awful. Now, I know that's I make it sound like this is a thing that could happen tomorrow, which it's not. This is a lot of things would have to, there's a lot of bouncing dots that would have to happen to correlate to that. But that's why I'm so vehemently for freedom of speech. I think that if you don't like something that's happening, you should be able to go protest it. I don't think that people should be arrested. Even if you don't agree with what they're protesting for, you should fully honor their right to have the ability to speak out, whether you agree with it or not. It's so plain and simple to me.
It's just allowing them.
And again, I think that there is a correlation. I think people should have the ability to protest. I don't think they should be violent. I fully disavow what happened on January 6th. I think that was one of the worst fucking things they could have possibly done. It's the same thing that was happened during the BLM riots and shit. There was a correlation there of two very, very bad instances, and one doesn't make the other okay. And I hate that both sides utilize, they did it over here, so we could do it over here, and then they did it over here. Protesting should not be violent. Use your words, not Molotov cocktails.
To run this mafia business. And there's a bunch of people that are reasonable.
I think that's true, is that it's very hard to speak out against this stuff, and it wasn't, not anymore, but for a long time it was very hard to speak out against this stuff. And that's why, for example, the trans kid stuff, I think that's the point. That was the bridge too far. That really kind of, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And then afterwards, now you see people having a huge reaction against it, massive reaction against it.
Educated people that have Stockholm syndrome. They don't want to admit that even their people, their cherished heroes like Obama, was a part of this.
Big part.
All these people that you think of as progressive Democrats, they're
all corrupt motherfuckers. That's the point. We're living in a world of corruption, and I will continue to say I think every time somebody donates to one of these politicians for a campaign or something, we should see a breakdown of every single fucking cent that went there, because that type of transparency will build more toward our faith in our country and our democracy than anything else. We need to see receipts for every transaction almost. I think that would give us enough transparency to be able to look at both the left and right and say, look at this, dude. Did you need this? This is our money. What the fuck are you doing with this? I mean, yeah, there's gonna be political sidelining and fucking virtue signaling and shit like that. But I think the more important thing over all of this weird culture war shit, the more important thing is where the fuck is our money going? And it's not just Elon Musk going in and showing us the receipts from that shit, which is good. I hate Elon Musk or like him. I like that I'm seeing finally seeing where the money of the government's going, but I want it more. I want to see what every one of these donors gives money to. I want to see where every one of these fucking every fucking cent that goes in, I want to see where it goes. Because it's just like they're able to pull they think are they beholden to these companies? Because I think they are. There is no way in hell that somebody working for $200,000 a year is worth like upwards of $10 to $100 million when they're career politicians. There's no way. There's nothing logical about that.
They were all a part of it.
So anyway, it overflooded the dam and broke. Yeah, I guess so. Remember when Nick Merckx got backlash when he spoke against this? I do. And I think that radicalized a lot of people too when they saw that. They saw somebody like Nick Merckx who said, I don't want to have, gender ideology in like my kids' schools. And then he gets taken off of Call of Duty. Everybody hates Nick Merckx now. Everybody's dunking on Nick Merckx. And I think
I did respect when Nick Merckx came out, when Dr. Disrespect shit came out that he was talking to like somebody underage, and Nick Merckx disavowed him instantaneously. Just dropped him over nothing. He's like, I'm going to stand by what I said about protecting kids, and I want nothing to do with Dr. Disrespect because this is gross.
A lot of people saw that, and they were like, this is fucking ridiculous. And the fact is that as soon as it was possible to express that opinion, it turns out everybody actually had Nick's opinion. And it's a super majority opinion that the public has. And so the only way that this stuff was able to flourish and grow was when it was being protected ideologically completely. Supermajority? Yeah, absolutely.
From idea to...
I mean, I felt like this was a good, interesting piece on it. That I don't want to watch this. I think this was a good little breakdown on this whole situation. I think there is a utilization and a weaponization of utilizing protected like these protected minority classes, right? They're not using them because they believe in your cause. They're using you as a shield to hide the skeevy shit they're doing behind government. I mean, why else would they bring all this shit up and bring up all these problems while these government agencies are looking into and saying, oh, well, you need to protect these agencies because it's going to hurt you. And then they utilize progressive virtue signaling and identity politics to hide the fact that they're doing skeevy fucking shit. I don't like it. I don't like it. I think that it's weird, wrong, and cringe. I really do. It's something that I think we should all be behind, the idea that more transparency is better, regardless of how you feel about Elon Musk or not. If he keeps being transparent, I mean, when it gets to the point where it should be called out, I am for calling it out. But at the point right now, just getting transparency is a fucking W, something we haven't seen in the government in a very long time.